I am mining investor and editor of Resource Stock Digest, Gerardo Del Real, here with my friend, colleague, and business partner, Mr. Nick Hodge, who's also an investor and the publisher of Daily Profit Cycle. This is the 241st episode of our weekly therapy session that we like to call Investing in Bizarro World. We're going to talk gold, we're going to talk markets, we're going to talk uranium. We'll provide a brief Patreon update. We'll talk about what we're looking at in the week to come. A lot to get to as always, but first and foremost, Senor Hodge, how goes you today?
I go pretty darn well. I'm not sure about the rest of the world, judging by the headlines and the news stories and the things I see going on in the market. But I'm great. How are you?
I am well. It's been an interesting week market-wise. Societally, it's definitely interesting times. Let's put it lightly, right? It's definitely a lot of bizarroness going on. A lot of it's kind of hard to see just as a human being. But look, family's healthy. I'm healthy. The wife still loves me. I've got all three boys at home for the week, so
cool.
Thankful. Let's get
It's
right into it.
It's a good time to be thankful, judging by the pictures we're seeing coming out. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Let's get right into it. It was an interesting week. It's been an interesting month for gold, right? We saw gold pull back, and it looked like it was headed towards 1,800, and it's had a sharp reversal. It's trading in the 1970 level as we speak. Dollar index is still pretty strong, right? Still above the 106 level. Thoughts on gold and how it looks? I know what you're going to say, but let's talk charts, let's talk technicals, and let's talk what we need for a pronounced breakout to new all-time highs.
You need a breakout to all-time highs, so get a breakout to all-time. You're pretty darn close. What do I want to say? I mean, kind of the chest last week, was buying the dip down to those low 1800s, was saying that if it held there, it was going to turn around. Didn't know, of course, it was going to turn around so sharply, but you've had some, very wide candles. I think you might have had a $50 day for gold. I should have checked to brush up on it, but in the past week, which is a rarity. Yep. And so, it's responding to geopolitical events on the one hand, and then on the other hand, I think it's responding to some sort of fomenting credit event or, the Fed losing control. Gold is doing this at a time in the 10 years that 5% for all intents and purposes, 4.9 and a cock care, as my uncles used to say. Away from 5%. So to see gold doing what it's doing, to me, says that, gold is sniffing something out. I'm not sure what that is. At first I thought it was a ground invasion of Gaza, but we seem to have backed off that a little bit, right? Because not we, but as Israel, tells people to flee and sort of it takes their finger off the button, at least in the past couple of days, as I've seen, right? To avoid the risk of further, I don't even know how to put it, not
escalation.
Negative press, but you had this whole campaign of misinformation, and I don't want to get too off topic, but it's just, the fall of war is real, and you should have been able to see that over the past week, as nobody could figure out where the rockets or missiles or blasts or attacks are coming from. I think the New York Times changed their headline like 4 times on the same story, right? So anyway, and I'm talking about gold, but gold is now going to have to settle out, is what I was going to say. It needs to settle out above 1900. It needs to hold where it is now. And then if you get ready for the next leg up, I don't think trees grow to the sky. I tell you that all the time. But I think if it can digest the big move it just had off the low 1800s, just for a minute, you just have a cup of coffee in the low 1900s. And then it needs to, move up to 2000 and then potentially record highs. Nobody knows what's going on. I was telling you about the different Feds and their projections for GDP. If Powell was out there today basically saying, like, it's uncertain and unstable. And he admitted what I told you last week is that the markets went ahead and raised rates foreign. He said, we essentially had another tightening with the bond yields where they are. And so that's about all I got for you. As long as gold holds here, I think it's a comfortable place to be. Gold is not gold stocks. I would have to remind you again. Gold has been the way to play this. It's been the one that you can see more clearly the technical levels of. And all that said, gold stocks as a complex did perk up over the past week. So it was good to see that.
Notable names in the gold space that I think people should look to, right? It's a free podcast. You're going to get your money's worth as always. Revival Gold looks really damn attractive to me at current levels, trading at 40 cents Canadian. It's got a market cap of just over 41.5 million Canadian. This is a company with 5 million ounces of gold across all categories and likely another 2 or 3 million in exploration upside. So Revival Gold for 5 million gold ounces, excellent infrastructure, excellent top-notch management, and being in Idaho on past-producing land, which can fast-track permitting, seems to me like a heck of a speculation for the next leg up in the gold space, which I think new all-time highs are on the way. I had said I thought it would be end of Q4-ish, Q1 2024. That's looking to play out pretty nicely. The second name that has perked up and is actually trading an anomaly in the resource space right now, is trading at a 52-week high, is Mawson Gold. And of course, Mawson being 51% owner of its Australian subsidiary, Southern Cross Gold, which has had just some absolutely phenomenal hits, right? The most recent one, I think, was something like 400 meters of 5 grams a ton gold. And there were some intercepts within that were just absolutely mind-blowing. That Sunday Creek project that Southern Cross Gold owns and that Mawson has a 51% interest in through Southern Cross ownership is interesting and compelling to me. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Mawson stock is at 52-week highs. I think much like the market sniffed out, a hike. The Treasury market did it, 16-year highs, right? That's where rates are at. I think the market's also sniffing out a lot more bonanza great hits coming out of that Sunday Creek project. So 2 freebies for y'all to go dig into and take a peek if you're looking for some quality gold exposure. Those are 2 companies I like quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm a biased shareholder and I should add long-time shareholder of Revival at this point. The only caveat I'd add there is that it is at 52-week lows. It does need to finance and you're headed into tax law season. So stink bids may be the way to approach it.
There you go. Actionable advice from Mr. Hodge. Let's talk uranium, man. Uranium's still looking cute as all hell, right? $73 level. The equities, most of them are near 52-week highs. Again, I think we're in the first 3 innings of the uranium bull market, not the last 3. A lot of runway left. We had a recent consolidation that didn't last too long. It lasted a couple of months. I think that is over. Thoughts on the uranium space, sir?
Yeah, it was good to see the spot price go back over $70 because it sort of bounced off what I would say is resistance around 73. Would like to see it get back there. But outside of just the uranium sector, being inside of it and talking about it, it's emerged as, one of the sectors that's strongest across the entire market. And that's a function of it being in the energy complex, which has remained strong. We talked a lot about oil, and I hear the street talking a lot about oil because it's remained strong. There's one, the economy reinflates. 2, war breaks out. But there's other things inside the energy complex. Even natural gas has been catching a bid. Winter is coming, but people forget that uranium is a large part of the international energy mix as well. And so it's what's the word? Is matriculated the right word? I'm not sure. It's
matriculated.
It trickled out, to keep it simple, into wider, more broad-based participants of the market, not just the uranium buyers and not necessarily just the resource industry either. I've seen more mainstream participants writing about and talking about owning uranium equities just as part of the uranium complex. And so that's good to see. You need outside capital coming in to let uranium equities go to the next level. And so the next level is very close. You're back now to, almost where you were in late September when we had a good strong run in the uranium space. And so I think if you get back to those highs from last month, you'll see more retail money coming in faster.
Agreed. We have to talk lithium, and then I want to get into crypto a bit. It's been a heck of an interesting week in the lithium space. There are some names that are getting absolutely clobbered, right? Patriot is holding up well. It had phenomenal news. We'll get to the news here in just a bit. But Lithium Americas, right? It just went ahead and completed its separation of its assets, with their Nevada asset being in one company and their Argentine assets being in another. And it's down some 50% over the past 2 weeks, right? That part of the portfolio isn't looking too cute, unlike the uranium portion of the portfolio. But the most interesting thing of the week to me was the Liontown drama / debacle. We talked last week, and it was, it was funny. We recorded it, and then all sorts of stuff happened, right? Albemarle walked away from the deal with Liontown. Gina Reinhardt, who I said was buying with reckless abandon at the $3 level, secured her 19.9% stake. That didn't sit well with Albemarle, and after a year's worth of due diligence and 3 offers, the last culminating in an offer of $3 per share, it decided it didn't want whatever comes with Miss Reinhardt being at the table. Liontown now is rumored to be raising hundreds of millions of dollars at $180. That is a steep discount from the $3 that Miss Reinhardt was just paying. That's also $6 billion that Albemarle now has at its disposal. And this at a time, and got its eye into Patriot, right? Where by all public dialogue that Blair shared in the most recent interview, and we could put a link up to it, that with the backdrop of Albemarle and Patriot apparently getting along just merrily, right? He couldn't have been more complimentary of the synergies. He couldn't have been more complimentary of Albemarle really thinking that they have something special here. And all of Blair's comments during that interview screamed that MOU is going to turn into, a consummated deal. And so, again, we talked last week about how the dominoes were lining up nicely, or the chess pieces were being, put in the right position, how I liked everything but the share price with Patriot. Well, this is to me is the bonus, right? Because it frees up Albemarle, and it's a logical partnership on that front. You couple that with the fact that, there's 8 rigs turning now. There's over $150 million in the treasury. Blair stated in the interview that everything they're seeing at CV9 thus far indicates that that's a go. That's going to be a new discovery. Can't wait for assays from that. CV5 continues to grow. CV13 continues to, deliver just some blockbuster, spectacular grades. Though the widths aren't what, we're accustomed to seeing from CV5, but that's just because we're spoiled, right? We're looking at potentially a good, easily 20 or 30 million tons over there of a high-grade stuff thus far, and the market just kind of yawned at it as if it was like whatever, right? So couldn't be happier with the news. Love the drilling, love the update. Love CV9. Really underappreciated part of that news release was the Met news. The initial data that they're looking at between CV5 and CV13 is screaming this is the exact same thing. Darren, VP of Exploration, alluded to it in the news release, saying, essentially, the whole damn thing's connected, y'all. We just got to keep drilling it out and prove it to you, and we understand that. But everything we see, everything that we're looking at, all of the core that's coming out screams this is connected. It's all one big plumbing system. And if that's the case, if we're going to have 10, 15, 20, 30 kilometers of this stuff and it's all continuous, and now you have the potential for 2 starter pits where you can, incorporate the lake later on in the mine plan, I'll take whatever share price it is today and happily sit on my shares. And yes, do I wish they were higher for when I sell my occasional couple of thousand shares? Absolutely. Will it matter at the end if we get our price? No, but I am curious to see if Albemarle now comes to the table to get the buyout dialogue going, because it's been out hustled now, if that's the word we want to use, multiple times now by Australians. I mean, the Australians are eating Albemarle's lunch. And if I'm Albemarle, I need to deliver a win to shareholders. And I can't think of a better win in the lithium space right now than securing 50 kilometers of one of the most, lithium-rich greenstone belts that I've ever seen. And what looks like to me green bushes potential. So a lot there. Couldn't be happier as a shareholder. We'll put the link up to the interview with Blair, but all of that looks great. Looking forward to seeing what Albemarle comes back with if they don't, toss out a $25 offer sometime and just get the talks going. And then I'm really curious to see what the other potential suitors, because there are several, are willing to come in and do with that. So I think there's two things. I think there's need institutional buy-in. The retail part of the price going up is over. That is done. We need some institutional buying. And I wouldn't mind a lowball offer to start the negotiations, because I know, the voting block of us large shareholders is sufficient to, turn back and push back on anything that we don't deem to be sufficient. So yeah, couldn't be more excited. Wish the share price was higher. That's your Patriot update, folks.
What do you make of Albemarle shares? So I hadn't been tracking them too closely, but just had a gander while you were talking, and they're nearly 3-year lows, excuse me. Probably being punished for not getting a deal done. Probably also being punished for, weak-ish to weak or, Chinese spodumene and lithium carbonate prices. But anyway, now I'm just playing interviewer. How do you feel about Albemarle share price, and how do you think about any potential deal as it relates to, cash versus shares?
I think if I'm Patriot and Albemarle and we're getting along mightily, and CB5 and CB13 now look metallurgically identical, and the discussion is, for Albemarle to come in, get these tax incentives through the Inflation Reduction Act and set up a plant, I think it makes perfect sense for both companies to consummate that deal sooner rather than later and actually turn this into a real partnership. I think it delivers a win to Albemarle shareholders in the sense that they know that at least they do have a permanent seat at the Corvette table. And I think on Patriots' end, it's a clear sign to everyone else that it's time to get in the ring if you want a seat at the table, because Albemarle most definitely wants a seat at the table. So I don't think it's the right time to actually have a deal go through for Albemarle or Patriot. I think it's perfect timing to consummate a deal for a plant and announce a partnership and terms that are flexible to both companies. But for Albemarle, secures future supply at scale, and for Patriot, secures less dilution if Albemarle is willing, and they're clearly able, is willing to come in and build that plant or build and finance the bulk of it in exchange for security of supply, which we've talked about on this podcast before.
Got to be in the arena.
Got to be in the arena. So no, look, good times on that front. We got to talk crypto a bit. We had a discussion with our in-house expert, Mr. Chris Curl, recently. Got some exciting news coming up on that front, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the crypto space, and maybe you could share a little bit about what we got up our sleeve on that front.
Sure. Bitcoin has been sneakily and stealthily stair-stepping up and to the right. At last check, around at $28,000, but has had periods over the past 6 months where it spiked briefly above 30,000, once back in June, and more recently, and also more interestingly, this week, as there was a leak or fake news, or I actually saw Ben Hunt from Epsilon Theory start calling it fiat news, which I absolutely love. I don't know if it was fiat news or whatever, but there was a leak, a post from Cointelegraph, which is a very widely followed Twitter account, that the SEC had approved BlackRock's, which is the iShares, the Bitcoin spot ETF. Now, let me backtrack a bit and tell you that lots of people are interested in this because there's multiple ETFs that have been applied for by iShares and Cathie Wood's ARK and several other outfits. And there's been the Bitcoin derivative and Bitcoin miner ETFs approved, but there's been no Bitcoin spot ETF approved. So one, lots of firms want this and have been applying to the SEC to get them approved. Two, the SEC has been delaying, first to this month, and now they've been delayed likely until January at the earliest, and potentially even April. And people are interested because they think this is going to beget a lot of Bitcoin buying, right? If you have a Bitcoin spot ETF, you need to own Bitcoin to for your funds. So buying would come in. And so when that headline broke, even though it was fake news, the Bitcoin spiked immediately to over $30,000. It was immediately debunked, and retractions were printed, et cetera. But that headline is going to be real at some point in the next 3 to 6 months. And you sort of got a taste of what Bitcoin would do when that happens, just in the first couple of hours, let alone as, those funds really go about the buying that is needed to buy the Bitcoins they need for their fund. The other thing is you've got a Bitcoin halving or halvening, which is slated to occur in early 2024. And that's when the rewards that the miners get are cut in half. And so, as Chris will tell you, and has written about a lot to his readers of Crypto Cycle and in his free editorials of Daily Profit Cycle, is the way Bitcoin responds after each of the previous happenings that occurred. And it's the bull market is what happens. The price of Bitcoin goes up historically after the halving. And so these catalysts, combined with, central banks and governments wanting to get involved in the digital currency space and in some respect, coupled with the geopolitical events. I mean, we talked about gold going up on the back of geopolitics. How do you think Gazans get, money in and out of the country, for example? I mean, or to Egypt or wherever, right? To avoid borders without having to carry around a heavy ass briefcase. So Bitcoin will find its footing in that respect. And so anyway, the catalysts are lining up, and Bitcoin is looking pretty strong. So we took the opportunity to put together a new educational series. We're calling it the $1 Million Crypto Club. But it's really an educational series that you can sign up for. And we're doing a couple of things. One, we're giving away a couple of the premium reports that Chris has for members of Crypto Cycle. Just for signing up to this educational series, you'll get a peek at some of the reports that people have paid $1,000 to get, to just help you get introduced to the cryptocurrency space, right? His list of definitions and glossary, as well as his, Bitcoin 101, 201, 301, which tells you about the different types of coins, different types of exchanges, et cetera. And then beyond that, we get a whole 2-week email series with case studies on different coins that Chris has had success with, as well as him expounding on those catalysts that I just outlined for you. So it's free to sign up for. We're calling it the $1 Million Crypto Club, and we'll open up the sign up for that on October 26th. The date has been set. So is that next Thursday? I'd have to look at a calendar. It is next Thursday. Well, this Thursday by the time you see it. So you have plenty of opportunities to do that. We'll be writing articles about it. We'll have sign-up boxes up on Daily Profit Cycle. And I even bought $1millioncryptoclub.com. So we'll see if we can get a landing page up there.
Love it. I'll say this, as always, we don't get it all right. We don't get it all wrong, but we do put our money where our mouth is, right? And when it comes to Chris Curl, top-notch educational seminars that he puts together. And look, we allocated $50,000, Mr. Hodge and I did, to a crypto portfolio that he manages and oversees. And I suspect that, if some of his predictions play out the way past ones have, that we're going to be happy that we did that here in the not too distant future. So definitely encourage those of you that even if you're someone like me who still hasn't ever allocated personal dollars to the crypto space, right? The information is fantastic. And I think it's a great time to get curious and start learning about it. There was a comment by Paul Tudor Jones not too recently, and they asked him about the two asset classes that he would own. And surprisingly, he said gold and Bitcoin. And this is someone that's been critical in the past of Bitcoin and has talked about it in unflattering terms. So there is, we talk about fourth turnings a lot on this podcast, and there's definitely a shift in sentiment in the crypto space, especially as it relates to Bitcoin. And again, my spidey senses tell me that, in the next year or two, Bitcoin is much, much higher than where it is today. But again, even if you're not looking to allocate capital there, great educational stuff. And if you have people that care about the space and want to learn, I encourage all of you to go and sign up for that seminar.
I guarantee it'll be worth your price of admission.
Love it. Love it. Love it. What are you watching in the market, Mr. Hodge? I know you and I had a discussion off air. You and I will both be presenting at the New Orleans Investment Conference here soon. My personal favorite conference of the year. One that I've been going to now for over a decade. We were chatting about what we were going to talk about and the many opportunities in the resource space. What are you watching this coming week?
I'm going to stick with the same answer from last week because it was right, and I think it's going to continue to be right. I closed my NASDAQ short with in 1 penny of the low today, by the way. So that was pretty darn good. But it's volatility. So, and you're about to get a 20 handle on the VIX, and I told you that's what I was watching or would be watching this week. And lo and behold, the VIX has steadily increased up and to the right. You haven't had a 20 handle on the VIX since, drum roll please. It was back in March when the banking crisis was going on. Surprise, surprise. And today it closed with a 21 handle. So, you got volatility already the highest it's been since March, which I told you to look out for last week. You could get a jump to 30 fairly quickly. When the regional banking crisis was going on back in March, it quickly jumped to 30 on the VIX. And, when you got a 30 handle on the VIX, you're not doing much else, right? You're just hanging on to the rails of the boat. So, watch the VIX. The price swings are going to get, wider as that VIX goes up. And you got a taste of that today. This is Thursday, October 19th, I should say, because it'll be a couple of days before this comes out. But as Jerome was talking, you saw the market start to sell off, and those price swings, volatility, obviously, the price swings can get wider as the volatility goes up. And it was a pretty complacent summer. I think people forget what it looks like with the VIX above 28.
I like it. I got to get your thoughts on energy before we leave. We talked about Resolute Resources a couple of weeks back, and that thing's broken out from the 25-cent level to the 40-cent level today. Pretty impressive run. We know it's expecting results soon. Again, it sounds like the market has sniffed out the fact that there might be some oil under that ground. Thoughts on the energy space, and if you want to speak specifically to Resolute, they seem to be onto something.
Yeah, we touched on energy via uranium. It's one of the few bullish sectors of the market now. Oil is getting close to being top E, I would say. I'm not calling it top yet, but it's getting close. Because what's it going to go to? I mean, it can't go much above $100. You're going to get an immediate recession, right? So in terms of ranges, it's back to close to the top end of it. It's been interesting to watch oil because it's sold off on the initial, Hamas violence or whatever last weekend, October 9th or whatever that was. Oil sold off and then has come back up as, a couple of things. One, there doesn't seem to be an end in sight, or at least a near-term end. Two, we see the inflation starting to tick back up, which is driven by oil itself. But you can't get much above 100. So it's bullish right now, but it's starting to do a little sideways action. And so I'm not super worried about oil crashing, but I am keeping my eye on it for lower lows. I still own my State Street ETFs. I've recommended XOP, which is the exploration and production spider. That's in foundational profits. And I'm watching it every day. We're up on it. But like I say, I think you could get a breakdown if there's any, resolution to what's going on, any ceasefire, any sort of, sniffing out of the end of this conflict. So that's where I'm at with energy. Nonetheless, the bottom of the range is still something like, in the 80 range. So still, good for producers, not necessarily for a momentum, trader. With Resolute specifically, it seems like they're, somebody knows something. I mean, that's a company we financed twice privately, just came to trade in late August, 28th or 29th. And as you say, touched 40 cents. Someone doesn't want the market to know that someone knows something, because it ticked a few pennies up over 40 cents this week. And someone goes like, nah, get back down below 40 cents. I was watching it at the end of the day, right? And so, and we know that goes on, painting the tape or, bullying the tape, I guess you could say, pushing it down when you don't want people to get excited and get picked up on the chat boards or whatever it is.
But I've been watching it with Patriot for the past 6 months.
yeah. The price action and the volume action, seem like there's oil there. And I would add that, all the pre-drilling exploration work, pointed to there being oil there as well. So, We'll say, they say results in October or early November, so we're getting pretty darn close.
We are indeed. I'm supposed to remind you, as always, to check us out at dailyprofitcycle.com/subscribe so you can get all of our updates, reports, and commentary from myself, Mr. Hodge, and our talented editors. That's it. I think that's it. Look, I'm definitely looking forward to more consistent news flow from Patriot. I'm looking forward to, more capital coming into the lithium space. I think, the spot price is likely bottoming, and, the capital flow is not going to ease up because of a consolidation in the space. And I'm looking forward to seeing if gold can actually break the 2000 level in convincing fashion. If it does, I think we could be off to the races. So definitely a lot to watch over the next several weeks. Anything on your front?
No, we'll be heading out to New Orleans, as you said. We'll do a little red fishing and bring in my dad. So excited about that, at least for the fishing, not for the conference. We'll be seeing you there. Have made some dinner reservations, as you know, in addition to the conference. One of the greatest things about New Orleans is the food scene, and I try to sniff out the ones. So I got a little Cubano action for you, Gerardo. We'll see how it is.
Saludos a mi gente cubana por allá. Hello to everybody out there. That's all I got for this week, everybody. I am Gerardo Del Real, along with Mr. Nick Hodge. This was episode 241 of our weekly therapy session we call Investing in Bizarro World. Be kind to each other out there, everyone. Leave us with some words of wisdom, Mr. Hodge.
No, adios. See ya.
Hey there, you independent-minded investor. If you like this video, make sure to tell us so by clicking the like button below. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss another one. And share it with everyone you know on social media. You can also click the link in the description below to check out more information-packed videos just like this one. Thanks for watching.